Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 112. Okay, so today you have myself, James, and Pete with you. We are without Paul today. He's unable to make it today. But we also have a fantastic guest joining us all the way from America, who I'll introduce you to in a minute. But before I do that, Pete, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thanks. I haven't had the weekend you've had. My weekend was fairly boring, to be honest. Usual stuff, walking the dog and all of that. Yeah, but you haven't, have you? You've just been away on a fantastic SFG weekend.
Yeah, I've just got back from the weekend spent with quite a few former guests of the show. Actually, Brett Jones was heading up the SFG one in England. I was on Team Mike Sousa, which was really good fun. We had Claire Booth there. We had Pom, who's been on the show, Helen, who's been on the show, Gemma Wesson, who's been on the show. So yeah, a really, really good weekend. And I took one of my members from Unique Results there who certified as an SFG1, which was great. Matt Sales. So I'll give him a bit of a shout out. And yeah, very, very positive weekend and just kind of sharpening the saw and learning and refreshing lots of kind of coaching cues and lots of stuff. So that was brilliant. And I've also lined up Brett to come back on the show to talk about his new book, Iron Cardio, and I've lined up Mike to come on as well, which will be great. Mike Sousa from Sousa Strong. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I told you had a better week, a more exciting weekend than I've had. So is our guest, to be honest. I don't know why I'm here.
I know our guest has had a very exciting weekend, which I've just been watching on Instagram. But I will introduce you. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this episode, and I spoke to a lot of people at the SFG one, and I said, "Oh, on Monday I'm interviewing this person," and they said, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be fantastic." So, yes. So without further ado, I will introduce you to Rebecca Rouse. How are you doing, Rebecca?
I am doing super well on this fine Monday. Thanks so much for having me.
Good. And we will, what we'll do actually. So Rebecca is she's the founder of Semper Stronger, which we're going to hear a lot about today on the podcast. She is a competitive Olympic weightlifter. She's an SFG2, just absolutely smashing it on Instagram and things and on the online side of training and what she's putting together. And I've just kind of been following her for quite a long time and thought, it'd be amazing to speak to Rebecca. And I pinged a message out. I think it was at the start of September. And then I didn't hear anything back for about 3 weeks. And I thought, oh, she's too big. She's not going to come on the podcast, And then she sent a message back out of the blue and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's taken me a while to get back, but it's really, really good that we've managed to find the time to speak to you, Rebecca. Do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of yourself and your background? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people who are listening probably follow you, but I'm sure there's a lot obviously who don't as well, who will be new fans after the podcast. So if you can just tell us a bit about your background and kind of where you've come from and where you're at now. And what you're doing for your own competitive endeavors and business and that sort of thing. And we can kind of just dip in and dip out and ask questions as we go, if that's okay.
Sure thing. Absolutely. So my origin story, I usually take it back to a really young age. I started gymnastics when I was 3 years old. And I think that really formed the foundation largely for who I am today as a person and as an athlete. So being a young gymnast, growing up with kind of a very atypical childhood and schedule. I mean, I was in school and then I would go straight from school to practice for 3.5 hours, 4 or 5 days a week, and then homework at night and bed, eat, sleep, repeat. So that was a big part of my childhood from age. I started, as a little tyke when I was 3, and then started competing when I was 7, competed all the way up until I started high school at 14. And so it was, those are pretty formidable years. And so that was a very structured childhood that I had. And it really made me just start life as a really disciplined person and gave me a lot of structure to my fitness and my life in general. So not a lot of room for extracurricular activities besides gymnastics in school. And so I really just was a very focused young person growing up, and then that carried through to high school. In high school, I focused more on academics and not as much on athletics. But then when I got to college, I got into kind of the weight room scene, and I think started out like many other people did with more of a bodybuilding type of routine and body part splits and that sort of thing. And I did that for all through college. I did a figure competition just for fun in 2012 when I was 21 years old. So it was a cool experience, something I'm glad I did once, but will never do again. And then after that, after finished college, I got my first job as a personal trainer at Equinox. And that's really where I got my start as a trainer, coach, and really delving into the world of functional fitness and some of the other tools besides just, machines and things like that. So I fell in love with kettlebells immediately. And I got my introduction to kettlebells in 2014, got like a really introductory certification. And then I found out about Strong First in 2016. I got my SFG1 in 2016, got the Iron Maiden title as well at my SFG1. And then after that, it was kind of just Pandora's box for me of functional fitness and strength. And I really shifted from the aesthetic side of things to the performance and strength side of things. And so since then, really since 2014, it's been a journey for me of getting stronger, staying mobile, stable, working on all the different aspects that make a person a well-rounded athlete. And I've used kettlebells pretty much the entire time, but also dabbled in some other things and learned about Olympic weightlifting. I think I got my first taste of it in 2015, but didn't really do much with it, just kind of learned and observed. And then in 2018, I hired my first coach to work with me for Olympic weightlifting specifically. I did that for 2 years, had 2 different coaches. Then COVID hit, kind of went back to kettlebells and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, depending on where I was and what I had access to. And then a year ago, I moved to Texas and I got connected with the coach I'm working with now. And my weightlifting career has skyrocketed in the last 12 months exactly, really, since I started with him. And that's my sole focus at this point.
I've got a couple of questions that come off the back of the intro, which is fantastic. Is gymnastics from 3 and then taking that fairly seriously and competing obviously up until high school, which is how old would that be? 14, did you say, or something like that? Yeah. So were your parents particularly from a physical activity background or sporty? I mean, because that obviously involved, ferrying you around a lot to different practices and competitions and things like that. I mean, were they competitive in their sort of when they were younger, or?
No, not at all. They were very supportive of my journey, but I don't come from a family of athletes or anything like that. They were just happy to, well, I don't know if they're happy to, but they did it. Like you said, cart me around from practice to school and so on. And then on the meets or on the weekends, we'd have our competitions. And if you've ever sat through a gymnastics meet, they are not short events. So God bless them for the patience and for them, sticking with me and putting up with all long hours and lots of traveling. But yeah, so
yeah,
that's where
I didn't know if I did think you probably had like a gymnastics background, just from kind of, I suppose, the aesthetics you have, and also I've seen lots of things with you doing, handstand holds and walking handstands, and you're very obviously body weight stuff looks very, so I thought you must have done and I know that we've had Dan John on quite a few times on here, and he says that one of the best things for young kids to do, he thinks gymnastics is just a fantastic thing to give people a grounding and a foundation in strength and movement and tumbling and falling and all that kind of stuff, which is yeah, I suppose that's really carried on. And you mentioned the Iron Maiden challenge, which just for the listeners that are listening, some people will know what that is and some people possibly won't. Can you just explain what the Iron Maiden challenge was that you got at the SFG1 that you did?
Sure. Yeah. So the Iron Maiden challenge is something that's Strong First hosts at their certifications, and it's basically a title that you have to earn. For males, it's called the Beast Tamer. For females, it's called the Iron Maiden. And basically, in order to achieve the title, you have to complete a pistol squat, a weighted pull-up, and a single arm military press with, for women, a 24 kilogram or 53 pound kettlebell, and for males, it's a 48 kilogram, 106 pound kettlebell, all in one sitting.
Yeah. And was there anyone else at your cert who did the Iron Maiden or the Beast Tamer at that one?
There was one other female who achieved the Iron Maiden. I think someone attempted the Beast Tamer, if I recall, it was 6 years ago now, but I don't think he achieved it that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got a question, because like people really train for this, right? But it sounds like you just rocked up at the SFG one, which people train for as well. Like really hard to train for that. And you don't even have to do the Iron Maiden in that. The Iron Maiden's like an extra bolt on that people really train hard for. But it sounds like you just rocked up and did it. Is that right?
That's partially true. I don't like getting asked. Not that I don't like it, but I feel a little bit guilty when people ask me like, "Oh my gosh, how did you train for it?" I didn't really train that much for it, to be honest with you. The SFG, the cert itself, I didn't even know what Strong First was until, I don't know, I think a couple months prior. And then I found out there was going to be one in the area where I was living at the time. I think I signed up for it 4 or 5 weeks before, and then did a couple weeks of a program, and because I needed to get my conditioning better for the snatch test. So that was the main thing I focused on. But for me, like, because I grew up as a gymnast and I've always had a pretty good foundation for strength in different capacities, dumbbells, barbells, and what have you. It kind of all just the foundation that I built from a young age really translated into being ready for the strength standards without having to train too hard. And then for the Iron, I had no idea what the Iron Maiden was. One of my coworkers told me about it, and he said, "Oh, if you're going to the cert, you should try for the Iron Maiden." And I was like, "Well, what is that?" And he sent me the link, and I read about it, and I said, "Oh, I have no idea where I am right now as far as this stuff goes," because I hadn't been training with kettlebells that long. So I gave it a shot, and I was able to do the weighted pull-up the first time I tried it. I started with like a 12 kilo and then just went up a bell size. And then in that training session, I was able to get up to the 24. And then the pistol, same thing. I'd never done a weighted pistol before, but I just worked my way up in that session and did it with a 24. And then the only one I didn't have was the press. And I could do a press with a 20, but I couldn't get the 24 to move. So for about 2 weeks, I trained just slow eccentrics with the 24, and I think maybe the 28, but yeah. And then after I think a week or two, probably 2 weeks, I was able to press it.
So what did you do? Kind of push press the 24 or the 28 up, and then just really super slow, kind of lower in under tension. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's funny because you said, you get you feel guilty because you're like, well, I didn't train for it and I just rocked up, but that's not true, is it? Because like you say, you started when you were 3 doing gymnastics, and you've built that foundation over your entire life. And this is what we try to get across, because people listening to this might be in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. There's quite a big demographic who listen to this. We don't know, but we think they are. But it's one of those things, because then people can say, oh well, that's fair enough, you started when you were 3. And it's like, but you have a training age, don't you? So your training age is older than most people would be at your age.
That's fair.
But someone could start in the 30s, and then by the time you get your 50s, you've got a 20-year-old training age, and you can achieve these sorts of things, starting and building that foundation. So no, that's a good message though, because like that's a really great example, starting at such a young age, and then just being able to do these cool things that people think like look great on Instagram and that. It's like, yeah, but no, you don't just do them out of the blue, do you?
No, let's go on Instagram, but it's a hell of a lot better to like use it in real life and just be strong in daily life.
Absolutely. So like you say with a pistol squat, right? Pistol squats, you need really good mobility to do a pistol squat. And you just you've never done a weighted one before, but you just did it. So that proves like the base of strength is there from doing all the other stuff, but you've got the mobility to go with it as well. So therefore it just comes naturally, which is brilliant. So that's a really good message. So thank you for that.
And at the moment, you said when did you move to Texas? How many years ago? 2 years ago, was it?
Last September, just over a year ago.
Okay. So where have you spent where did you grow up in the US? Whereabouts were you?
I grew up in California. I lived there up till high school. I went to college on the East Coast in Maryland, and then I met my now husband there, and he's in the military. So we've been moving around every 2 to 3 years since then. So I've seen a little bit of each coast, and now we're in the middle. So it's been great. I wouldn't trade that for the world. I love moving around and seeing different parts of the country, but I think Texas is where I'm supposed to be. I love it here.
Okay. And then from so you started training in a kind of I think you said Equinox, wasn't it? Like a club, like a commercial kind of corporate, fitness club. And then you started doing training and coaching and that sort of thing there. You went and did the SFG. And what's your kind of business now? I mean, how have you kind of evolved from what you were doing then to what you're doing now, and the model that you use now? And I know you do a lot of stuff online as well now, and maybe that's because you kind of have moved around quite a lot, so you don't want to get too locked into one area, if you need to move. So having a more of a mobile type business works. But yeah, can you explain to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I worked for Equinox. That was my first job out of college. I worked there for 6.5 years, started out as a trainer, then moved into a management position. And I loved that. I learned a ton, had a great experience there. And when COVID hit and shut us down, we were at a little bit of a crossroads, and they said, we have no idea how long this is going to go on. And maybe we'll open in a couple months, maybe, who knows? Nobody knew anything at the time. So I'm not the type of person to just wait around. And, I did that for a month or two, and then I was going stir crazy. And I'm very goal oriented and very driven. And so just sit around after going from working in the gym for 12 plus hours a day and being very busy all the time to the complete opposite. I was just like sitting there thinking of, there's so many things I could be doing with my time and my energy. And I wanted to just create my own thing. So during that time, my husband and I started to sit down and put together some ideas for what a business could look like. And because we're a military couple, we knew moving was going to be in our future. And so we decided to go the online route, which made a lot of sense during COVID, especially too. So we created our business, and we started very small. I mean, we knew we wanted to have an app. Everyone's got an app these days. So we had an app, and I started writing some programming and then preparing to take on clients one-on-one when we were ready to launch. So when we launched, I had a couple one-on-one clients, and I had one program, a kettlebell program, like an intro kettlebell program on my website. And that was pretty much it. And that was how we started. And then since then we've grown. I think we have like 13 now, we call them signature programs. I've written, and one of our other coaches has written a little bit of the programming as well. And we have a platform to train one-on-one. We also launched a membership. So we have members from all over the world in different countries who join us. A lot of people join us for the kettlebell programming, but we also have grown we have body weight programming, we have kettlebell programming. And I just a couple of weeks ago launched our mixed modality programming. So we have workouts of the day that are a variety of equipment, kind of like CrossFit style-ish. It's not CrossFit, but that type of idea with varied workout formats and equipment and all that. So we are getting ready to also probably next month take on more coaches. So I'm not the only one doing the one-on-one coaching. I'm trying to step away from that a little bit and work on growing the business more versus working in the business and taking on lots of clients. Obviously very time consuming to do that and try to grow the business as well. So I'm scaling back my one-on-one client load and working on growing a team of coaches who can come on board and use our platform to train their clients. We've created an exercise library with over 1,000 videos of myself or my husband or our other coach, Sam, performing exercises. And so it's kind of a plug and play situation for any coach that would come on board to be able to access our library of videos that we created, the program, the app, the platform, and everything that we've built over the last 2 years.
Mm. I know, but what's the business called?
Semper Stronger.
And what does that mean? I know again, but I'm asking you.
So my husband he's in the Marine Corps, and the motto of the U.S. Marine Corps is Semper Fidelis, which means always faithful. So we took the Semper, meaning always, from that, and then Stronger just kind of being the foundation of who we are as individuals, as a couple, as a business, and just really strength forms the foundation of the way we live our lives. So
yeah,
where we got
it's fantastic. We had 2 weeks ago, we had Ryan Hurst on from GMB Fitness, Gold Medal Bodies Fitness, and that was a good episode, wasn't it, Pete? I mean, I wasn't on that one, but yourself and
well, we thought it was good. Les was a bit critical of it, wasn't he? Hello, Les. Sorry. Les is one of James's clients, and he gives him feedback about every single episode. It's great. So, Les, We want good feedback about this one, by the way.
Honest feedback.
No, but it's good. Feedback is good. Honest feedback is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the programs that you have, are they, obviously there's a few different ways that people can train online. They can either train doing something like this, I suppose, which is like you're actually live with someone doing one-to-one coaching and communicating back and forth. There's two-way communication. You can also have sort of like a follow along kind of system whereby it's pre-recorded, but the client follows along, or it can just be sort of programming that they do in their own time. Is Semper Stronger? Is it kind of a combination of all of those, or is it a mixture thing? How does that work?
Yeah, we offer all of the above pretty much. So our membership is the lowest cost. And that's what I was kind of saying earlier, is like the workout of the day format, where we have 3 different workouts of the day, and our highest tier membership, the gold membership, gets access to all 3. So only body weight, an only kettlebell, and then mixed modality. And then, so that's what our membership includes access to. And then we also have our signature programs. And so our signature programs are similar to the WOD in terms of like, the types of modalities. We have kettlebell only, we have mixed modality, we have body weight, bands, all that stuff. So, but they're a little bit, the workouts are longer, and it's a more structured program. Workout of the day is, different every day. You're going to show up. I post one each day, and, you wake up the next morning, you don't know what it's going to be, and it's going to be different than the day before and the day before. So a lot of random kind of variety there. Whereas the signature programs are 4 to 12 weeks in length, and they are progressive in nature. So a little bit more structured that way, and longer workouts with a specific goal of the program. And then we also offer the one-on-one, like you said. So we have kind of 2 levels of that as well, which is the custom program, where if someone's kind of self-directed and they want just a program to follow, they don't want to come up with a program on their own, but they're going to go get the work done on their own. We have our coaches that can create their custom program for them, and they're on their merry way. And then we have the immersive coaching option, which is a little bit more hands-on, more communication with the coach. They're checking in every other week. They're getting their program updated based on how they progress through it, and a little bit more regular touch points with their coach.
Yeah, excellent. And going back to your Olympic lifting kind of background and where you are now with that, because we've spoke to lots and lots of people on the podcast, but I don't think we spoke to a female Olympic lifter, and in terms of the way that I see you training, and the the weights that, because do you still compete at the kind of 64 kilo category? Yeah. So the kind of weights that you're lifting up and you're putting above head and things, I mean, heavy, so, and you say in the last sort of 2 years, I think you've been trained by this, or that since you moved to Texas, sorry, you've got a new coach, and then you feel that you've kind of, what you've been doing at your meets and stuff has kind of stepped up a notch. Is that where a lot of your personal focus is now, on your weightlifting as far as your own training is concerned?
Yes, absolutely. During COVID, again, I was doing a kind of a mix of stuff, kettlebells all the time because they were portable and I always had access to them, barbells when I had it available to me, which wasn't all the time. But yeah, since I moved here, I built a garage gym, and I just, through a family friend, got connected with my coach, and I had no intention really of specifically committing to weightlifting or to a coach or anything like that. When I moved here, I was very open-minded, having just moved to a new city. I don't know that many people here. And I was really at like a kind of an open door with my fitness after having done a little bit of this and a little bit of that during COVID. I was like, maybe I'll do CrossFit, maybe I'll do weightlifting, maybe I'll just do my own programming and work out at home all the time. And then I met this coach, and it was just like, after our first session, we just clicked, and I love his coaching style. I love his programming. And after a couple of weeks of training together, I did my first meet, and he was kind of like, do you want to do this? Because you have potential. And I didn't really understand what that meant at the time, but here I am a year later. I've gone to nationals. I've added 50 kilos to my total in a year. I mean, I'm making progress that I never believed I could make or thought that I would be where I am right now. So I think to be at this level now, where I have potential to be on the podium at nationals next year, potentially Pan Ams after that, who knows? It's really, I have to be all in. I have to be fully committed, and that's where I am right now. I'm ready to be all in.
This is another great message, actually, based on what we just said earlier about starting when you were younger. Is, you've done like lots of different things throughout your career, or throughout your life, I suppose. And so you got into Olympic lifting, and you're getting newbie gains on that because you've never done it before. But you've lifted your whole life, but then you're getting newbie gains on something because you are new to that. So, because we hear it all the time, like, you get people turn up to your gym, or you like, I train people outside, and they're like, oh yeah, I've done kettlebells before, but they've done it in a fitness class or something like that. So it's not quite the same. And I'm not saying that's like wrong or right or whatever, but it's just not the same as the way we do it, sort of thing. But then they'll get newbie gains from it and stuff like that, even though they've been going to the gym for years. So I just think that's fascinating. That's another great message to get across to people, is like, it doesn't matter what you've been doing. If you're getting into something else, it's not too late either, because, you will actually start to learn more about the process. And then and we talk about it all the time, people dabble in lots of different things, but once you find something, just go in on that. And then the potential is amazing. And then you can become get on the national team, which is fantastic.
And that kind of, like you said, when you said you decided to commit to it, the podcast last week was Mark Bennett, and he coaches kind of sports coaches for like GB basketball or different things. And he talks about the way they review decisions they make and things like that. And it's about that actually having, you decide, okay, like your coach said, oh, right, are we going to do this now? Are we going to commit to this properly? Because I think you've really got potential. And then you've decided that that's going to be what you're going to focus on. So you're around sort of 31, are you, at the moment?
31, yeah.
Yep. So with weightlifting, I mean, I don't know in terms of, obviously the States is so much different than than England and the UK. We're such a small country comparatively. And getting to kind of like the top of a sport, and potentially getting to, like you say, kind of national and international level and things like that. What's do weightlifters kind of, can they get stronger and mature as they get older, up to, like things like distance runners and stuff can still be setting records into their kind of like late 30s and beyond? I mean, is weightlifting something that you can keep improving and compete at a very, very high standard as you continue to move into your 30s?
I think so. I mean, it obviously depends on a lot of things. Remaining injury free, I think, was never like, I'm very fortunate to not have had a lot of injuries, but now that I'm over 30, like the amount of care and time I have to spend on ensuring that remains is a lot greater than it used to be. So I think injuries is a big one, but I think women, I think their peak of strength is like kind of around where I am now, early to mid 30s. There was a woman who competed on the Pan American team this year, and she's 37. So that gives me some hope. I think I can, the progress, they always say progress is not linear. And for me, this past year, it's been pretty linear. Obviously that can't continue indefinitely. I think I still have more gains to make. And then from there, it'll just be, making those small incremental gains and remaining injury free, like I said. So yeah, I think I have a good couple of years left. The Masters division, you're eligible to compete at the Masters level beginning at 35. You can continue to compete at the open level for as long as you want and remain competitive. But my goal is to, take it as far as I can while I'm still at my prime and my peak for the next couple of years. As long as I've said to myself, as long as I continue to love the sport and remain injury free and keep my body healthy, I'll continue to do it, because as much as I want to compete and train at a high level, I also want to make sure that I preserve my body and keep it healthy and mobile and injury free, and feeling good for many years past my competition years, because I have to live in my body for the rest of my life, and I'm not going to compete for the rest of my life. And to me, you can't put a price on just feeling good in your body. And so that's a high priority for me as well.
That's another great, honestly, there's some great messages coming out of this, I'll tell you, because obviously some people go all in on their sport, won't they? And then not worry about what happens later on. And then by the time they're 30 or whatever, they don't with American football and rugby and things like that. I mean, I was going to say football, but you don't get hurt in doing that, do you? English football, soccer. They pretend they get hurt, but they don't get hurt. But sorry. But no, that's really good, because it's kind of like, you can go all in and go, right, the consequences, it doesn't matter because I'm going to win stuff and then I'll worry about it later on. But that's a really mature approach of just, I'm going to do this as long as I can. And I mean, so far it's kind of proof that you can as well. If you approach it correctly, if you approach it properly with and with a good coach who knows what they're doing as well, you can make those gains. I mean, we get coached by Paul McElroy. I don't know if you know him, and he talks about expanding your comfort zone, and expand your comfort zone to encompass the goal. And if you can do that, you remain injury free and you just get super strong. And that's a great message as well for anybody like getting started. You don't have to have. I mean, you will get newbie gains like you've been having, like you say, for the last year, but that'll eventually taper off, and then it's just all about kind of maintaining where you are, and being what would you call it? Being mindful about it and thinking, what does this look like we always say, like on this podcast as well, what does it look like in 10 years? And if it looks like you're smashed in 10 years, it doesn't work, does it? So that's a brilliant message.
So your competition that you just had this weekend, was that in Texas? Was that yeah? And I think I wrote down. So your total was 200 kilos from the two lifts, yeah. And you got a 92 kilo snatch and 108 kilo clean and jerk was your posted lifts, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's incredible. And did I see that it was like that was only 4 kilos off of like a record? Yeah.
The Texas State snatch record for my weight class is 96 kilos. So I'm competing at the Texas State Championships in January, and my goal is to break the record there, if not eventually. But that's what I want to do next.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, you just think of the, it's something like a deadlift for me is not a great lift, and I think about deadlifting a certain amount, and then you look at like clean and jerking at 64 kilos, 108 kilos overhead is just incredible. And if anyone listening doesn't follow Rebecca on Instagram, I highly recommend that you just go on and have a look, because the videos are always, and you don't just post all your good lifts when everything goes right, do you? You post your misses as well, and you post your progress and stuff. So it's really inspiring to see that as well. And in terms of your husband, you said is Royal Marine, not Royal Marine, sorry, but Marine Corps, yeah.
Yes.
So is that something that, I mean, is he going to be in the military for a lot longer, or is that something that he will transition out of the military in a certain number of years and then become more involved with the business with you as well?
Yeah, so he's been in for 17 and a half years now. So he will be retiring from the military in about 2.5 years before he'll hit his 20. And that's what the commitment to get to retirement is, 20 years here in the US. So he'll do that, finish that out. He does a lot behind the scenes for the business. We have very complementary skill sets. He's very good with technology. He does all of he built our website, designed all the graphics, and does all the video editing and all that good stuff. And I know nothing about that world. So I handle all the fitness stuff, the customer service, the member and customer facing stuff. And he does all the behind the scenes stuff. So we work well together. He does what he can when he can. And when he retires, I think he'll play a bigger role. Obviously, in 2 years, so much could change with our business, what we're doing, what we offer, where we are, and all that. So we'll see what happens. We're just kind of taking it a day and a month at a time and building what we can build. And when he retires, I know he'll have a lot more time on his hands, and he'll either go all in with the business, or perhaps we'll start another business. I have no idea, but we're both very entrepreneurial at this point. I never thought I would be this young. It was kind of like a long-term thing, and COVID expedited that for us. But I'm loving it. I'm learning a ton and just embracing all the ups and downs that come with entrepreneurship.
Because your husband as well is in good shape, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's obviously in the Marines. But what does he do for training? I mean, is he kind of on deployment a lot, and is he moving around a lot, or does he have a sport, or does he train, strength train and things? What's his kind of sporting background and stuff?
He's done a lot more of a variety than I have. I grew up with, one sport, and that was it, gymnastics, and then kettlebells, and now weightlifting. For him, he grew up playing all the different sports, football and wrestling and martial arts and baseball. So he's very well-rounded, and that's kind of carried through as well in the military, and also especially in the Marine Corps, you have to be strong, but you also have to be able to run. Their PT test is a 3-mile test, so 5K basically, and 20 pull-ups and all that stuff. So he's got a little bit of everything. He's strong, but he's also fast. He ran a marathon. He's really done a lot of different things. He does a lot of kettlebell training as well, but he can also deadlift 500 pounds and squat 400. So he's very well-rounded, and so he's kind of the jack of all trades, and I'm the master of one.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. That's really good. And in terms of kettlebell training now, then for you, because you said that when you first sort of were introduced to that, and you first did, Strong First Level 1, and then Strong First Level 1, you did the Iron Maiden, then you did the SFG 2 as well, didn't you? How much gap was there between the two of those? Was that
3 years? I did the level 2 in 2019.
And I take it you probably found that quite comfortable as well. Yeah.
Press the, what is it, 1/3 body weight for women press. I think it was a 24 kilo.
I was going to say that was probably the 24 as well, wasn't it? What you pressed for the Iron Maiden. Yeah. And obviously things like, I mean, because you'd already done some, I think you'd already done some Olympic weightlifting at that stage. Yes. So things like the jerks with, probably for you, was like double 16s or something, wasn't it? So that sort of stuff. Yeah, that was all comfortable for you. No, that's cool. So do you still, but now that you're all in, as you say, and committed to progressing with the weightlifting competition, and you've got clear targets on that at the state championships and things like that, do you still do any kettlebell training now, or is it all structured around weightlifting and those kind of workouts?
I still dabble. There will always be a big passion of mine, my first love in fitness, if you will. And so I do love picking up kettlebells every now and then. My coach programs some accessories with kettlebells, some presses sometimes, and thrusters and things like that. So I will do that usually once a week. I'll pick up some kettlebells. We also, for the membership, we do live workouts with our followers and our members at least once a month. So I'm always participating in the live workouts with them, and then when I create content for the membership, I have to demo and everything. So I definitely stay sharp on my kettlebell skills, and I'll do my SFG research when I need to. And because I have a good, like we talked about, I have a good foundation for fitness, and kettlebells will kind of just always be second nature to me. I don't usually have to train too hard for it. Although the more I do, heavy lifts and a lot of rest, the harder the snatch test will probably become for me. But it's a good to be able to hit that benchmark every year. But yeah, I think it's something I'll always be a part of who I am as a fitness, person and athlete. And so. And
have you ever been a competitive swimmer before?
No.
But you're good at swimming, aren't you?
I'm okay. I've never had formal training swimming. I do enjoy it. I don't know. It's one of those things, like being in the water. It just really, it's so different than anything I do on land, and it's just such a different experience. But I love being in the water when I can get in. Yeah,
because I think I saw you, like, there's a lovely, like, outdoor pool. You're in Texas, or so it's gonna be hot. But you were doing like some swings by the side of the pool, like some heavy swings, and then getting straight in and and kind of sprinting off, I suppose, in like front crawl in the pool as well. So is that something that that looked incredible, and the beautiful sun and everything else? I mean, was that kind of like a bit of a random workout, or is that something that you sometimes do on a nice day when you want to swim?
Yeah, I do. So I lift 6 days a week, usually. Every now and then. My 7th day is either a rest day or a swim day, or if I just had a meet, I'll get in the pool to like kind of do something different. And the swing into the sprint in the pool, I stole that from Dan John. He has the Nav workout, which is like a heavy lift into a sprint. So I kind of tweaked it a little bit and did the swings into the swim sprint and get the same effect. But it's a lot of fun, and obviously get a lot of weird looks since it's a public pool in the neighborhood. But it's a good time.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So you don't ever, when you've done your swings and then you put the bell down, you get in the pool and you go, do you ever get anyone walk across and try and pick it up and see how heavy it is, or they just leave it alone?
No, I think they might be a little intimidated.
Okay.
People don't know what to do with a kettlebell, and especially at the pool, like, what is this?
Yeah.
There'll be, you know what's going to happen in a few weeks. There'll be a sign at the pool saying no running, no bombing, no heavy petting, and no kettlebells.
Right.
It's going to be a new one.
There we go. No, that's fantastic. And who did you, when you did your kind of your certs and stuff, who were your kind of instructors and stuff through Strong First that you've worked with? I'm just wondering if there's anyone that we might know or have met before.
Yeah, so my level 2 was Czar.
Czar, yeah, I've done we did level 1 with Czar Horton over here. Yeah, he's been over here. Yeah.
Czar, and then he co-hosted it with Andrea Yushi Chang.
Yeah,
she's out of Kettlebellity in Washington. And then my level 1 was Doug Nepidal. He was the master SFG, and my team leader was Joanna Tehran, who's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
She's out of San Diego. And then I've done a few assistant positions at SFG 1 certs here in Dallas. We have Karen Smith. She's a good friend of mine as well.
Okay. Yeah,
she's been around forever. She's kind of the goddess of SFG, and great friend. We train together every now and then. So I've done a few level 1, just being an assistant to do my research and stay sharp on my skills too. So
Oh, you just mentioned two people who I've got written on a list to contact, actually. So the Andrea, is it Yuxing Chang from Seattle, isn't it? Is she in Seattle? And and Karen as well. Yeah, I've been meaning to reach out to her to get her on. So I might drop your name when I reach out to her and say. And I was going to ask you as well about the I've seen as well you're doing the ice baths recently that I've seen. Is that something that is a facility nearby to you, or do you have one yourself, or what's the situation there?
So definitely a newer thing for me. If you look way back on my Instagram, the first exposure I had to the cold, I did a Wim Hof workshop in New York City in 2018, and I had complete panic meltdown, cried. It was horrible. And I was like, this is not for me. That was it. I was like, I'm never doing this again. Fast forward 2 years. I think it was 2 years, maybe 1 year. I was in San Diego with Joanna Tehran, actually, and she took me to it was like a contrast therapy. We did a sauna, cold plunge, and there was someone there who, at the Wim Hof workshop, there were like 200 people there. So you don't get any individualized coaching or anything. It was just like chaos. But then when I went to this one, it was a small group of us, and there was a guy there who specialized in all of this, and he was coaching me through the breathing, and it just clicked. I was like, oh, you learn to control your breath, everything else falls into place. And yes, it's still cold. Doesn't change the fact that it's really, really cold, but the ability to tolerate and to breathe through it and to really just embrace it and not panic, that was like a game changer for me. So I did that. And then over the last couple of months, I've gotten connected through Instagram with these people at this company called Blue Cube Bats, and they make beautiful, they're like pieces of gorgeous furniture basically that they create for their cold plunges. And I learned all about the variations in time and temperature and the flow rate when you're in the water, and the thermal layer that happens when the body tries to heat up, and then all that stuff. So it started, I guess, a couple months ago. Before a competition, my coach told me he wanted me to take an ice bath, and I fought him on it, but he showed up at my house with 5 buckets of ice and just dumped it right in my bathtub and said, "You're getting in." And so I did it. And then after that, I kind of started to learn more about it. And I did some work with the Blue Cube people, and I started to really embrace it and really actually pay attention to the benefits and how my body felt after. And it was unbelievable how the recovery, my sleep, my energy, my focus, my mood, just everything. But I think the biggest for me, just with the intensity of my training and how heavy I'm lifting, it's recovering as a full-time job. And to get enough sleep and eat the right things and hydration and all that stuff, and to the quality of my recovery after taking an ice bath and spending some time in the cold plunge is like night and day. And I noticed a huge difference. And so I went from completely averse to like team cold all the way. And I can't say enough good things about cold plunging, mentally and physically.
So you mentioned the quality of sleep. When do you find it most beneficial in the day to do your cold plunge? Is it something you do directly after training, or is it something where you have a certain kind of time in the day that you think will kind of optimize your recovery and also optimize your sleep? Because I did one too close to going to bed, I think, a little while ago, and then it actually kind of had the opposite effect. I was really cold. I didn't sleep for quite a while. So,
So
so what have you found?
there's definitely a lot of there's a big difference when when you do it, how long you do it, all that stuff, and how adapted your body is. The body never actually really adapts to the cold. That's why every time it still sucks just as much when you get in. Like your body doesn't ever really adjust to it. But I've been listening to the Huberman Lab podcast, and he has a whole episode on cold immersion and using cold for various things, whether it's for health and longevity, whether it's for mental health, about metabolism, or just pure like physical recovery. And he says, and I agree from my own experience, that morning, the earlier part of the day is better to do the cold. Because of the adrenaline rush that you get from it. Obviously, if you're going to go to bed in an hour, you probably don't want that adrenaline spike. But the morning hours are the best, for at least from my experience. And then you definitely don't want to do it immediately after training, because you want the body. I think he says like at least 4 hours if you're training for strength. Waiting at least 4 hours so the body can go through its natural stress response, the hormetic stress that you get. When you put your body under the load, you want it to go through that inflammation and the things that lead to the strength gains in the immediate term right after you finish training. So you want to wait at least 4 hours so the body can go through that natural stress response, adapt to those stressors that you put on from training, and then start your recovery process with at least a couple hour buffer in between.
No, I think that's right. Yeah, no, I agree with that entirely. And I think I was going to say, I know you said your body doesn't adapt to the cold because it sucks just as much each time you get in there, but certainly your mind adapts to it, doesn't it? Because it's so much easier once you start doing it whereas to begin with, you may be a bit timid about getting in and you're not sure. Once you've done it before and you can do it, and you just kind of get in there and just get yourself in there and don't worry about it, don't you? So your mind is far more resilient to the cold, even though the effect on the body is still the same, so no, that's fine. Yeah, they look beautiful, the ones that you go in. I know they're like huge long chest kind of wooden. Mine's more of an oval kind of barrel old wood thing, but it's got the cooler attached to it, so it can go down to sort of 2 degrees, which is, I don't know what it is for you. Is it about 40 or 38 or 39 or something like that? I'm not sure of Fahrenheit. I'm not very good with that, but yeah, it goes cold anyway. So yeah, Pete's just looking very
I haven't got one. I've got a shower which I turn as cold as possible.
But you have the cold shower, don't you? It's cold.
Yeah. And that's not nice either. It was all right during the summer when we were having a heat wave, but it's not so good now, unfortunately. But you got to keep doing it, haven't you?
Yeah. And you mentioned just quickly, Rebecca, as well, just before we kind of start to wrap up, you mentioned obviously the amount of training you do. So you're lifting weights 6 days a week. Your recovery is something that you have to take very, very seriously in terms of the sleep, the cold that you do. Do you do any kind of soft tissues type stuff or massage and things like that? Do you have any of that those kind of practices that you use?
I have a chiropractor I go to once a week. He does my adjustments. He does some soft tissue work. I think honestly, like the cold exposure really helps just the quality of my tissues. I feel a huge difference when I do it. I do a lot of foam rolling. I'll do a lot of mobility work just to keep everything moving well and feeling good. So massage is not something I do all the time, but every once in a while I do that. But my chiropractor does, if I have for me, usually it's like one area, like I'll have a hip flexor that's bugging me, or I'll have something, my shoulder, and he'll usually work on that specific area versus getting like a full body massage. But I think overall, just focusing and prioritizing recovery from a holistic standpoint has done the best for me as far as how my body feels and moves.
And how important is, just one last thing, how important is nutrition to you in terms of your training volume and your training intensity, obviously, that you use for and your competition and things like that now, and also needing to kind of to train at the level you need to train at to increase your strength, improve your technique, but also to kind of make sure that your weight is, I mean, are you comfortably in the category that you're in terms of the sub 64 kilos, or do you have to diet to that to get that a little bit, or do you walk around at that kind of weight all the time?
Actually, it's the opposite for me. I have to gain. Like I'm not at risk of going below. So the lower end of the weight class is 59. So 59 is the next weight class down, and so I could be anywhere between 59 and 64. And for me, my body loves to be at 62. So I was actually in a category of 26 competitors at nationals. I weighed in at the lightest. I was like 61.3 or something when I weighed in at nationals. My baseline is just, my body's so happy at 62. So I've been trying to gain, and I got up to 63 when I went on vacation. I ate a bunch and not the greatest foods and things. And I got over 63, and then I came back home, went back to my normal routine. And within 3 days, maybe less, I was back to 62 and change. So, which is nice. I mean, it's nice to go into a meet and have enough things to worry about. And my body weight is not one of them, which is nice. So I can eat whatever I want morning of. My meet this past weekend I was in the last session, so I didn't even weigh in until 3 p.m. And I know many people in that situation would probably be, not drinking water or not eating breakfast or anything like that. And I didn't have that to worry about, which was nice. But so I eat a lot. I'm trying to gain weight. I'm trying to get over 63 and close to that 64. It's just, my body does not like to keep it on. And I think since I've gotten a lot stronger and put more muscle in my frame, it's just my metabolism is so fast now that in order to even maintain my 62, 63, it's like nutrition is paramount for me. And I actually had to make a big shift too, because I used to prioritize getting lots of vegetables and eating a ton of veggies. And I would have a little bit of protein, a good amount of protein, enough protein, but and carbs and fats. But now it's like, vegetables are, while yes, they're nutritious, they don't have a lot of calories. So they're not helping me put weight on my body, and they're not helping me build muscle. So I've decreased the amount of vegetables that I eat and increased the amount of red meat mostly, but a lot of protein, a lot of carbs, and of course fats, because they are higher in nutrient density, so or caloric density. So
that's interesting, because I was talking to one of my guys about this the other day, and he mentioned it, not me, but we spoke about it before, and about like homeostasis. Because I'm 72 kilos, and I've been that for I'm the same as you've done, but it doesn't seem to matter what I eat. I'm getting stronger, and I'm 46 next month as well, and I'm still getting stronger. So I'm having that, but it doesn't seem to matter what I eat. I just 72 my body loves it. It absolutely loves 72 kilos. And I was talking to this guy about it, because he's trying to lose he's trying to lose weight or lose body fat. He wants to lose like 5 kilos, I think. And he mentioned it because he's a PhD in physics and all this guy. So he knows a lot of things. And he was talking about the homeostasis. And I'd said, yes, that is definitely a thing, because he was asking whether it is a thing or not. And I was like, yeah, because your body likes to be where it is. It's comfortable there. So if you're trying to put weight on or lose weight, you've got to do it over a proper sustained period of time. Otherwise, your body just goes, I'm comfortable here. And it goes back to there again. And I think I can't remember who we spoke about that before on the podcast. And it's definitely a thing. So that's just for listeners out there, obviously, who are like, want to either put weight on and put muscle on and stuff like that, or lose it. It's another thing that's got to be done over a sustained period of time. And it's not as easy as you'd think. It's not just like, because losing weight, people struggle with that all the time, don't they? Putting it on, people think that's going to be easy. Oh, you just eat what you like. And it turns out if you're very active, it's not as easy as all that if your body doesn't want to. Yeah. Totally. So that's interesting.
I was just going to say as well, if you're eating lots of red meat, you're in the right place in Texas, aren't you now?
Yeah.
You got your good steaks, big steaks and things there. That's great.
Oh, yeah. Barbecue.
Oh God, barbecue. Oh dear. Right.
There's a program over here it was Gordon Ramsay, Fred
Devereaux, or whatever his name, the French guy.
I can't remember his surname, and Gino DeCampo.
Yeah.
And they went to a grill in Texas. And I think it's been doing the same thing for like 50 years or something like that. The lady who worked there was the mother of the owner or something like that. And she had a big brush, and she was just brushing the steaks and then putting the thing down and then brushing them again and putting them down. And she was like 85 or something like that. And it only opens on a Saturday. And they were in there, and they're all like Michelin star chefs and all this sort of stuff. And they loved it. They said, like, this is amazing. This is what it should taste like. And that was her Saturday job. She still had a job during the week as well. And she was like 85. It was amazing. So you see, eating meat is good for you.
I think it is. Some people will argue with that, but
James will agree because
I agree.
Quality
Okay. Right. What we'll do then, we'll start to wrap up. That's been really, really fascinating and really, really great to get to know you, Rebecca, and to kind of delve in a little bit more to certain areas of things that you do. Before we do, Pete, do you have any questions or any comments before we kind of wrap up?
No, I picked up on a few things, obviously, that Rebecca said, that were just really like, it's one of those things because people might not identify with it because, like, well, you've been doing it your whole life, so therefore, it's easy for you. But that's not true. And just all those little things like picking up along the way of, like, setting the foundation and just sticking at it and doing it consistently. And you can change things, and you'll find new avenues and all of that. And then just the nutrition thing at the end there as well. It's just good for people to keep that in their heads. I think that it's a similar process, no matter who you are, no matter how long you've been doing this. You stick to the basics, you follow you build the foundation, and then you go from there. And it's the same with everything. And then I've also written down, break records, not yourself. There you go. You can have that.
Excellent. And yeah, we'll kind of direct people towards your kind of platforms in a second, Rebecca. But I would initially say I follow Rebecca on Instagram, and I think she's one of the best people that I follow in terms of the content that I get. And it's at Rebecca.Rouse, isn't it? Yeah. Rouse. And if people want to find out more though about Semper Stronger and your programs and your membership and that sort of thing, I think is it at Semper Stronger?
Yep.
On Instagram. But you also have a website as well, do you? Or do you want people to go mainly through the Instagram? Okay, what's the website for people to go to?
Semperstronger.com. Pretty easy.
Easy.
There you go.
Okay, so it's at Rebecca.Rouse. It's at Semper Stronger, SEMPER Stronger on Instagram, or semperstronger.com on the website. And you were mentioning, we just want to quickly say, before we came on, you were talking about the work that you're now doing, moving into with kind of tactical athletes and kind of military personnel and firefighters and things like that. So you said that you're well, do you want to sort of tell us what you're doing in terms of that at the moment?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously the population's near and dear to my heart and our lives, just having been with my husband now for 11 years. And so I wanted myself to join the military. That's a whole other story, but I have chronic health issues and things that prevented me from doing that. So I went into the fitness industry, love the fitness industry, love what I get to do and the people I've gotten to work with. But as I've, gone through having some more experience, work with different people, I realized that I would love to find a way to be able to kind of combine the best of both worlds and to take my knowledge of fitness and health and strength and be able to apply it to that population that, since I was never able to serve my country in that way, how can I take the knowledge that I have and apply that towards the people who really need it? I mean, they're saving lives, they're preventing, they're promoting freedom and fighting for our country. And those people, they need quality health, fitness, and strength programming. And so what better way to kind of marry those two things in my life and be able to do that? So we are now we have a partnership with a nonprofit called Guardian Revival. And through them, we are able to offer memberships to Semper Stronger for free, no cost to them. So we have a process on our website where they can go to apply for membership, and they just have to go through the verification process to prove that they are currently active duty military, veteran, or first responder. And once they go through that process and they get approved, then they get to join a membership for free and get access to everything that our gold members have access to, as well as like a special community just for inside the app, of a place to connect with the other tactical athletes that are in our program.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's really, really good. And that comes down to your values and your mission and your passions and your beliefs and everything else, which is fantastic. So that's great. So brilliant. It's been lovely getting to know you, lovely speaking to you, Rebecca. And when is the Texas State championships where you're going to break the state record? When's that?
Hopefully that will happen. That is mid-January.
Mid-January. Oh, fantastic. Well, maybe we could catch up with you sometime next year and we can see how you're getting on and the continuing journey with the weightlifting and everything would be great. And as I say to everyone listening, do give Rebecca a follow. Absolutely fantastic, inspiring, and and educational, and just to see lifting done with some impeccable form, obviously, and it's just a really, really good account to follow. So thanks so much, Rebecca, for joining us today. Thanks for making the time in your busy day. I know it's kind of in the morning in Texas. So guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review on a platform where you can leave a review. Also, please do share this episode with someone that you think might get something from it and might enjoy it. And we will see you next week for episode 113. And I think we should have Paul back next week. I think, Pete, shouldn't we? Yeah.
Yes, we will.
We will have Paul back. Okay. Take care, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant, Paul Bassett, and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.